Good morning all. Today I am speaking on Ant Robert Jacques Turgot. He is commonly known as Turgot. He was a French economist and statesman, originally considered as a physiograt. He is today best remembered as the early advocate for economic liberalism. He thought to be the first economist to recognize the law of diminishing marginal return in agriculture. Turgot was born on Paris, May 10, 1727 and died in Paris on March 20, 1781. He came from an old Norman family. He was an economist of physiocratic school, a politician, a reformist, bureaucrat, and a writer. His family wanted him to become a priest, so he educated at the College of Louis Le Grand before taking a degree of theology in seminary at St. Sophie's and at the Sorbonne. Turgot was a French Adam Smith. Reflection on the production and distribution of wealth, which preferred the Smith the wealth of nation. He argued against the government intervention in the economic sectors. Turgot recognized the function of the division of labor in investigating how prices were determined and analyzed the origin of economic growth. Like Francis Gosney, Turgot was leading physiocrats who attempted to reform the most stifling of his government economic policies. Turgot has a deep influence upon Adam Smith, who lived in France in the 1760s and was an intimate term with Turgot. Many of the concepts of ideas in Smith's Wealth of Nation are drawn directly from Turgot. Probably Turgot's most important contribution to economics was to point out that capital is necessary of economic growth and that the only way to accumulate the capital is for people not to consume all the produce. Most capital, he believed, was accumulate the land laborers who saved the surplus product after paying the cost of materials and labor. Turgot argued with the Gosney notion of the circular flow of saving and investment, but saving in one period became an investment in the next. The Turgot also predicted Smith in recognizing the importance of the division of labor for an economic prosperity, and he was first economist to recognize the law of diminishing marginal return in agriculture. Predicting the marginality by the centuries, he argued that each increase in an input would be a less productive. From 1751 to 60, he worked at the Parliament in Paris. He hobnobbed with the philosophers and contributed several articles to the famous Encyclopedia of Denis Diderot. In 1755 to 56, Turgot accompanied the free trade advocate Vincent de Gournay on his official tour of France, and on their travels, Gournay got him thinking about the economic matters. In August 1761, Turgot was accomplished intent of the Generality of Limoges, which includes some of the poorest and most overtaxed part of France. He was already deeply influenced by the theory of Gosney and Gournay, and set to work to apply them as far possible in the provinces. Later in July 1774, Turgot was accompanied Ministry of the Navy due to the Maurepas, the mentor of the Louis XVI. His appointment met with the general approval and was hailed with the enthusiasm by the philosophers. The immediate cause of Turgot's fall from the favor is uncertain. There is yet another possible explanation. Turgot attempted to abolish the Guide in February 1776. Turgot was forced to resign in May 1776, and France's experiment in free market reform came to an abrupt end. He resigned on 12 May 1776 and spent the rest of his life treatise on the economics, literature and physics. Turgot himself never lived in witness, and his own reform might have helped thwart. He died in Paris, got at the age 54. He died on March 18, 1781. Next we can see on the major areas of economic contribution of Turgot. In that first one, law is fair and free trade, then value exchange and price, then distribution and production, then capital, entrepreneurship, savings and interest. In laissez-faire and free trade, Turgot developed his laissez-faire view most fully in the one of the early work called the Aide to Gournay. It written in 1759. A tribute offered when the Marquis died young after illness. Turgot made it clear that the network of detailed mercantilism regulation of industry was not simply intellectual error, but vertically system or correct catalyzation of special privilege conferred by the state. For Turgot, freedom of domestic and foreign trade follow equally from the enormous mutual benefit of free exchange. All the restriction that forgot that no commercial transaction can be anything other than the reciprocal, and that it absurd to try to selling the everything of the foreigners by these buying nothing from their return. Next, one of the most remarkable contribution by the Turgot was the unfinished and unpublished paper, that is Value and Money. It written in 1769. By concentrating the first on the Austrian type theoretical approach of an isolated cursive figure, Turgot was able to work out economic law that transcend exchange and apply to individual actions. Turgot so that the subject utility of commodity diminishes as its supply person increases. He lacked only the concept of marginal units to complete the theory. In next, even though only land was supposed to productive, Turgot readily considered that natural resources must be transformed by the human labor, and that labor must enter into each stage of production process. Increase the quantity of factorize the marginal productivity until the maximum point is reached, after which marginal productivity falls evenly to the zero. An analysis of law of diminishing return which would not be suppressed or even unequaled until the 20th century. Next, Turgot worked out almost complete the Austrian theory of capital and interest as a century before. In the reflection that written in 1766, Turgot made clear that wealth is accumulated by the means of consumed saved annual produce. Saving are accumulated in the form of money, and the invested is various kind of capital goods. Furthermore, the Turgot pointed out that capital entrepreneurs must first accumulate and save capital. Then we can see on the Turgot major publications that first one is On the Successive Progress of Human Mind, written in 1750. The next, Letter on Tolerance, written in 1753. Next, article from the Anglopedia, Fair and Markets. It's written in 1757. Next, Analogy de Gournay. It's written in 1759. Next, Reflection on the Formation and Distribution of Wealth. It's written in 1766. It is a famous publication of Turgot. Then, Reflection on the Formation and Distribution of Wealth Retrieved. It's written in 1778. Then, Economic Writing. It's written in 1717. And Memory on the Loan of Money. It's written in 1770. Letter on the Grain Trade, addressed to the Comptroller General. It's also written in 1770. And the last one is the 6 Edicts. It's written in 1776. That's all. Thank you.